The United States is preparing to open its largest naval and air base in the Philippines, a monumental step aimed at confronting China in the West Philippine Sea. It's a move shaking the Pacific's balance of power. The announcement signals more than an increase in military presence. It's a declaration of intent. The U.S. is returning with strength, locking arms with the Philippines in one of the most fiercely contested regions on the planet. Warships are converging, air power is surging. Eyes around the world are fixed on the unfolding buildup. Could this be a pathway to stability through overwhelming strength, or the opening act to a wider showdown? Stay tuned as we explore the enormous scale of this base, what it means for Philippine sovereignty, and how it could alter Asia's power map for decades. Something significant is rising only 50 miles northwest of Manila. After years of slow progress, the Philippine government is breathing life back into Subic Bay, not as a commercial port, but as a fortified frontline outpost positioned to meet growing challenges in the South China Sea. With maritime tensions climbing and China expanding its reach by creating artificial islands and militarizing disputed waters, Manila is making a high-stakes move. The once idle airfield at Subic Bay is being restored and shaped into a fully operational forward base. This is a strategic resurrection of a location once home to the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, now being transformed by the armed forces of the Philippines into a central hub for maritime defense. Official plans from the Philippine Air Force detail an airfield set to host reconnaissance planes, attack aircraft, fighter jets, missile storage facilities, and a massive hangar for next-generation surveillance systems. It's a signal that the Philippines is reinforcing its claim and expanding its reach across the West Philippine Sea. Though proposals to revitalize Subic Bay have floated for nearly a decade, the momentum surged this year as the bidding process opened. China's rapid maritime buildup has pushed the urgency higher than ever. This new Subic Bay is built for action, not ceremony. Once the lifeline of U.S. military logistics in Southeast Asia, Subic is positioned to serve as the Philippines' rapid response anchor. Fighter jets and naval ships will be ready to move at a moment's notice, patrolling, securing, and responding to activity around hotspots like Scarborough Shoal. The base remains essential for joint U.S.-Philippine operations, supplying port services, repair facilities, and logistical support for visiting American forces during combined training. From 2004 to 2022, the Philippine Navy quietly prepared for this moment, developing the Subic Naval Operating Base on 100 hectares of land formerly owned by Hanjin Heavy Industries. Now under U.S.-based Cerberus Capital Management, this site has become the Navy's most strategic asset in the country. Subic Bay is stepping beyond its Cold War legacy to become a centerpiece of 21st-century defense in one of the world's most contested waters. Along the coastline west of Manila, Subic Bay is reclaiming its position on the regional stage, this time as a pivotal player in Southeast Asia's evolving security order. Since its revival, it holds the distinction of being the only Philippine base capable of docking the largest U.S. military vessels. But the transformation isn't confined to its port. Across the bay, the old Subic Bay International Airport is taking on an entirely new role. Its location is no accident, close to both Scarborough Shoal and the South China Sea, making it an ideal launch point for forward operations. From here, the Philippines can project power directly into contested waters. For Joshua Bernard Espina, Vice President of the Manila-based International Development and Security Cooperation think tank, this is more than an infrastructure upgrade. It's a turning point for national defense readiness. With 7,000 islands to protect, the Philippines faces unique challenges, and this base strengthens the chain of defense. The Armed Forces of the Philippines has designated Subic Bay International Airport as a key site for coordinated land, sea, and air operations. The objective is clear: extend operational reach across the nation's entire exclusive economic zone. The existing runway already supports surface attack aircraft, enabling missions over both territory and open sea. The first stage, budgeted at $2.5 million, focuses on housing and security enhancements, but the roadmap stretches far ahead. Permanent fighter jet basing, secure missile storage, a massive hangar for advanced reconnaissance aircraft, and facilities for drones and maritime patrols. The Philippines is laying the groundwork for a modern defense posture ready for high-tech challenges. This direction has been taking shape for over a decade. In October 2012, only months after China took effective control of Scarborough Shoal, Philippine and U.S. officials confirmed that Subic Bay would once again serve military purposes. This time the Philippine flag would lead, with U.S. forces rotating under a defense agreement, a system that has since become the backbone of joint drills. For the Philippines, this is about more than shared training. It's about a stronger, more capable defense network, one that safeguards its maritime borders, fortifies alliances, and sends a clear signal to the world that it is prepared to defend its own. Subic Bay is shifting from history to the front lines of the future. It's evolving into a launchpad for a new era of cooperation between Manila and Washington. Logistics will be key, with plans to store U.S. military supplies on site and use its deepwater port to support American naval operations across the Indo-Pacific. The foundation for all of this was laid on April 28, 2014, when the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, was signed. That agreement reshaped the U.S.-Philippine military partnership, enabling agile force rotations and a deeper, more integrated approach to defense. Not in permanent garrisons, but in flexible, mission-ready deployments, built to move fast, strike when needed, and adapt to whatever unfolds. Under EDCA, the U.S. military has the green light to operate from specific Philippine bases. These remain Philippine territory, commanded by Philippine officers. Every runway upgrade, radar installation, or fortified hangar goes through approval from the Mutual Defense and Security Engagement Board. What's built for American use is equally available to the armed forces of the Philippines, strengthening both sides of the alliance. EDCA also opened the door to two smart access models.
The first, forward operating sites, expanded bases with a lean but always ready U.S. presence. The second, cooperative security locations, facilities maintained by the host nation where U.S. forces can fly in and deploy at short notice. They're discreet, flexible, and cost-efficient, tailor-made for modern Indo-Pacific security challenges. The partnership is more than shared airstrips and joint maneuvers. In recent years, Washington has delivered critical assets to reinforce the Philippines' maritime defenses, particularly in the South China Sea and conflict-prone areas like Mindanao. The list includes 3 Hamilton-class cutters and 3 Cyclone-class patrol ships, all now guarding Philippine waters. More reinforcements are queued up, 4 additional patrol vessels, 2 Protector-class and 2 Island-class, awaiting U.S. congressional approval. The skies are seeing upgrades too. The Philippines recently received a second-hand C-130 transport plane from the U.S., its second from Washington under a State Department program. These workhorses move troops, cargo, and humanitarian aid across the country's 7,000-plus islands. And bigger news is on the horizon. 3 brand-new C-130s ordered directly from Lockheed Martin in a deal worth 22.2 billion pesos. These aren't just planes, they're lifelines. They can haul soldiers into the fight, carry relief to disaster zones, and deliver heavy equipment wherever it's needed. One will arrive in July 2026, another in October, and the final in January 2027. All this fits into a larger U.S. effort to modernize the Philippine military. As part of a proposed $8.1 billion aid package, Congressman Darrell Issa is pushing for $500 million in foreign military financing for the Philippines. That funding could speed up defense upgrades, enhance law enforcement, and put more tools into the country's hands to protect its sovereignty in increasingly tense waters. And in the Indo-Pacific, no other country has received more U.S. military support between 2015 and 2022. Over $1.2 billion in gear, training, and direct assistance, including $475 million in grants. Part of this modernization focuses on surveillance, essential for policing vast stretches of water. With U.S. help, the Philippines has added new surveillance aircraft and Israeli-made Hermes 900 drones to its fleet. These have tracked confrontations near the Second Thomas Shoal, providing proof of foreign incursions. American support goes further. The U.S. Marine Corps rotates Maiden Reaper drones through Philippine territory, conducting joint intelligence missions, while the U.S. Army contributes additional aerial monitoring capacity. Together, these systems are transforming how the Philippines keeps watch over its waters. Yet the story is bigger than hardware. It's rooted in a bond formed more than 70 years ago. In 1951, the Philippines and the United States signed a mutual defense treaty. That pact has never mattered more. The Philippines is on the front line of China's expansion into the South China Sea. With far fewer resources than its neighbor, Manila leans on partnerships, especially with Washington, to maintain stability in the region. The alliance is not an artifact of history. It's a living shield for a free and secure Indo-Pacific. In 1998, it evolved into the Visiting Forces Agreement, setting the legal framework for U.S. troops on Philippine soil. Then, in 2014, EDCA took it further, granting rotational access to key Philippine bases and cementing the two nations' military cooperation in a rapidly shifting security landscape. These agreements give U.S. forces the green light to move troops, aircraft, and equipment in and out of the Philippines for joint training, disaster relief, and security operations, all with the full cooperation of Manila. Why does that matter right now? Because the Philippines sits in one of the most strategic choke points on Earth, right beside the South China Sea, a maritime superhighway where nearly $6 trillion in global trade moves every year. It's also a critical link in the First Island chain, a natural defensive wall across the Western Pacific and one of the strongest checks on unchecked Chinese military expansion. With tensions climbing over Taiwan and the West Philippine Sea, this alliance is turning into a counterweight against Beijing's growing power. Washington now has access to 4 additional bases across the Philippines, extending its reach and readiness if conflict ignites. In return, Manila gains sharper defensive capabilities and a stronger hand in protecting its waters, islands, and citizens. The timing couldn't be more pressing. China has escalated its tactics, ignoring international rulings, fabricating territorial claims, and using intimidation at sea. In one recent incident, Chinese Coast Guard vessels fired high-pressure water cannons at Philippine boats on a humanitarian run, delivering food and fuel to local fishermen. The Philippine Coast Guard and the Bureau of Fisheries were on a mission to help their own people in their own waters. Yet Beijing labeled it trespassing, despite international law recognizing the area as Philippine territory. These events aren't random. They fit into a consistent strategy: exert control over the region through pressure and force. But Manila is holding their ground. With U.S. support, the Philippines is no longer standing alone. This alliance is shifting with the times, adapting to meet new dangers head-on. And as China pushes harder, the two allies are sending a message across the Pacific. This part of the world will not be dominated. Stay tuned, because the next moves in the Indo-Pacific could shape the future of global power. For more updates on how this balance is changing and why it matters, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.